Good evening, everyone. I hope you all can hear me. Please give me a quick confirmation if you all can hear me. Okay, and let me also share my screen. You can see my screen, right? Okay. So before I start, I'll tell you my topic is storytelling, basically data storytelling. So maybe some of you are already working in the field of data science analytics. Maybe some of you are freshers trying to enter the field. Maybe some of you have joined the session just out of curiosity that what is it there in data storytelling, right? So my talk will be suitable to all, whether you are a fresher or experienced professional or visualization expert or even a data storyteller. If your job requires you to communicate information using data, this is going to help you. And if you think you have never done it, still this is going to help you because this is something which is a very, very important skill to develop, yet often ignored. I've seen data science learners focus on many other topics and tools like machine learning, they start with the statistics, maybe deep learning, different tools. They do a lot of things. They do visualizations, even the analytics ones they prepare, learn about Power BI, Tableau. But what is one thing which they usually don't learn is something which is very important. And I'm going to talk about that, right? So before I talk about anything regarding that, I would like to introduce myself and yeah, as you are seeing in the chat, in case you have any questions, you can drop in your questions in the QA sessions, right? And in case you want to say anything which is not a question, but you want to interact with me in between, I will take a pause. I'll ask you to answer something. So you can also write in the chat, right? If required, we will allow you to unmute and speak, right? But I think chat would also help to interact. My sessions, I usually prefer to make my session two-way learning, interactive session. It should not be, me teaching you for the entire 1 hour or more than that, and you are just listening to me. It's going to be an interactive session, right? So let me first start about my introduction. If you also prefer to write about yourself, means what's your background and what is your expectation from my talk, feel free to type in the chat. I'll see that as well, right? Although, as I said, this talk is going to be helpful for all of you, but still, if you want to say something, feel free to type in the chat, okay? So first of all, my introduction in brief. So, I am Dr. Nisha Arora, and I'm an educator by heart and trainer by profession. So trainer by profession, so I do provide trainings to corporates in wide variety of areas, including mathematics, statistics, research, and machine learning, data science, data visualization, data storytelling, data science career talk, and many other things. But by heart, I am an educator. And you would see, earlier, long back when I started my career, I was into academics for around a decade. And somehow I took sabbaticals and I was willing to try my hands on something new. Because during my academic career, I have taught everyone, like engineers, MBAs, research scholars, PhD scholars, executives, CA professionals, everyone I have taught them a lot of different subjects which were around mathematics, statistics, sometimes Excel, SPSS kind of tools as well. So I have learned a lot, I have taught a lot, but then I thought, I love to try new things. So I thought of moving to corporate world. So I took a break. I was on sabbaticals, but the learner inside me was not satisfied. I could not stop learning. So I used to learn a lot during that break. I attended some of the trainings or workshops. So one time there was a training I attended, and the professor was impressed by my questions, my interactions. He asked me, "What are you doing currently? Where are you working? Why are you in this workshop?" I said, "I am not working. I'm on a break, and I'm here just because I want to learn." he was surprised because he thought I'm doing some research in the area and that's why I'm willing to learn the topic. So he thought, what's your objective of coming here in this workshop, because you are not intending to work in this particular area. So I said, I'm here because I just love to learn. Currently, that's only objective I have. I love to learn. I realized this training is something I can attend. I heard positive feedback about you. I thought I should learn from you. That's why I'm here. So, and during that 1 week workshop, because he observed me solving other students' problem, helping them out, interacting with them. So he told me, what are your plans? And I said, I'm willing to move to corporate world, maybe after break. I'm, figuring out what should I do now, because I think I need to try something new. He told me, whatever you do, I'll give you one suggestion. Please don't stop teaching. Whatever you choose to do, it's your passion and it's, you should do it. When you explain, you can make things clear. So that is why I decided I need to always teach whatever I do. And during my break that time, I thought, I'm not doing justice to the community, because I know a lot of things and I can share my knowledge. Although I'm on a break, I don't want to work full time, but still I want to share my knowledge with the community. And that's when I started sharing my knowledge on all these forums. On the QA forums, might be knowing some of those, Quora, Stack Exchange. There are many communities on the site, cross-validated, Stack Overflow, the famous one, ResearchGate, and I had my blog and many other things. So I started actually contributing to online community. So I'm not active on all of these at the moment, because it takes time to create content, suitable for different platforms. But you will still find a lot of my contribution. So that was about me. Now, today's talk is, let me put this here so that I can see the slide and let me minimize it. Okay. So today's talk is about art of storytelling with numbers. So with numbers, we will learn storytelling. Now, how many of you have heard about it? Have you heard about it? Data storytelling, business storytelling, or simply storytelling? Not sure? Okay. So let me tell you a story first. So it is a story about a poor laborer who was there in a village in Bihar, India, right? And in that village, there was no healthcare facility as such, no hospitals, no medical facilities, and no road connectivity from that village to nearby town. So people who used to fall sick or need any kind of medical help, they had no options but to either cross a mountain. The village was surrounded by mountains. So either cross the mountain to reach the nearby town, or take a turn, around the mountain and, by road and reach that nearby town to seek help. Now, you can imagine how difficult their life would be, right? Anyone is falling sick, not in a situation to move, and they are supposed to climb a mountain to reach the hospital, right? So it was really a difficult thing for them. There was that person whom I'm talking about. The person name is Dashrath Maji, and that person, one day, what happened is his wife, who was pregnant, needed medical help, and they were trying to, climb up the mountain and climb down the mountain to reach the town. And on the way, something happened. She fell down, some tragedy happened, and finally she could not survive. She died. Now, what do you think? What would have happened that time? Of course, it was not unusual there. Many people would die because there was no medical care, there was no connectivity, road connectivity, and people were forced to live in that misery. There was no option. Many people would die like that. Same happened that day. But that person was really shaken. He was not able to digest the fact that people are dying just because of this mountain and there is no road. And it's they were trying very hard since years, talking to government authorities, requesting them to give them the connectivity, road connectivity. Nothing was happening. Then this person took charge. He thought, I need to keep things in my hand. he only had his hammer. So with his hammer, he started, breaking down the mountain. Now imagine, you can imagine how difficult it must be. And he asked the villagers to join him in that cause. And as you can imagine, as you can guess, they laughed at him. They thought he has gone crazy because his wife could not survive. Now he has gone crazy. He has nothing to do in his life. He is now, not willing to live anymore. And that's why he's, doing all this out of frustration. So people laughed at him. Now, can you think what would have happened that time? I think some of you might have guessed which story I'm talking about. Do you know which story it is? I am, willing to get your responses because I designed my talk to be interactive two-way session. We will go technical as well, but the more you will interact, the more you will enjoy. So in case you are not able to guess, the man did not stop there. He did his best using his hammer to carve down the mountain and create a path wide enough for people to travel, and kind of a road he had made only with his hammer and chisel, the only tools he had. It took him 22 years. He did it alone. Maybe sometimes few people joined him, right? But 22 years. Session disconnected. Host, can you check? Because I can see my screen is shared. I am speaking continuously. Yes, it was a movie. Can you guess? Do you remember the name of the movie? Those who have missed, although I think the session was on, I was speaking. Right. So in case you missed it, this image shows this is the movie about the story which I told you. I was narrating the story about a poor laborer in the village near Bihar, India. And, for the road connectivity, he did his work. 22 years, he just continued to work with his hammer and tried to build a road so that people don't need to cross the mountain to reach the healthcare facility in the nearby town. Okay, so I can see many of you who were able to hear me have guessed the movie name, Man, or Dashrath Manji, or this movie, right? So you remember it, okay? So maybe some of the participants here have never watched this movie. I can understand because, like me, I don't watch too many movies. So sometimes I'm blank when somebody tells me something about the movie. It happens. But I think those who watched the movie, you were able to guess it. You were able to recall it. Even when I started, within few minutes, you were able to realize that I'm talking about this particular movie. Okay? Or you were able to kind of recall the entire narration, what was there in the movie. Those who have not watched the movie, right, they can still remember it next time, because I narrated a story, although I was not going into too much of detail, but I narrated a small story to you, and it's very likely that you will remember the story. Now, because it is a technical talk, suppose I teach you something technical today, and code, statistics, machine learning. If I teach you something, you can forget it after a few days. But if I teach you the story, if I narrate you the story, probably you will remember it better, right? So one thing is clear here, that when I tell you something in the form of a story, you remember it better, right? Stories are memorable. And that is why when I need to teach something to my kid, I tell her a story. I tell her stories every night with a lot of explanation, QA session. It goes on for quite a long time every day. But still, sometimes I feel I need to also teach her this thing, or I need to correct her in this thing. I try to create some story, and with that story, I talk to her so that she better remembers and understand. So you will agree with me it is about a story only. You will agree with me, stories are memorable. We tend to remember stories, right? Second thing, we feel connected with the stories. Suppose this is a story about the mountain man who did really a really tough job of breaking down the mountain and building the road all alone. It took him 22 years, and even after 30 years of what he had done, government then built the road there, right? So yeah, you agree with it. So basically, this story, I was teaching you about this particular thing. But suppose there is something going on in your life where you are struggling, feeling disappointed, feeling the ways too long, and nobody is going to, support me. People are not ready to help. They are not coming in support to me. How am I going to do it? And that day I tell you the story. Probably you feel connected. Probably you will feel inspired, right? So stories are powerful because we feel connected. These are memorable, right? We can, feel the emotional attachment also. And that is why we can say that stories hold incredible power. Or I can say in short, tales pack a punch, right? So it's a very, very powerful way to convey your message. And that is why you might be seeing the advertisement which you see. Most of the advertisement, they try, they try to impress you with their product or service so that their sales go up, right? So these days people are becoming creative and they are creating ads in a form of a very short story, few seconds. They can't show you a movie of 2 hours, right? So very short, few seconds video. But that video, or maybe it can be not necessarily a video, it can be a text, it can be a visual, it can be whatever form, but they try to show you some story because that's powerful. For example, I'm running an NGO, right? And for that I need funds. So if I just show you my ads, this is my NGO, we do this for people, I need fund. So people are not likely to give me so much of fund because I'm just asking without understanding their feelings, without invoking that connection. If I just ask, my NGO work for poor people in that area and you give me the fund, probably you will not donate, right? But if I create a very small story where I'm able to connect with you, I can show you, okay, in your family, your kids are enjoying all this, but there are some kids out there who are struggling to get good food, good clothes, studies. They are deprived of the opportunities. You will feel connected, you will feel emotionally attached to those kids, right? And then if I say, we are here to help these kids, but we need support, please donate. It is more likely you will donate, right? So that is why stories are powerful. If I show you some data, if I show you some chart, but if I can narrate a story, it would be more powerful. Okay. So the message is clear. Stories are powerful. But how do we create a story? How do we tell a story? So to tell a story, we will come to that, but I would request you to read this text. I'll give you just few seconds. Will not wait too much. Can you read the text? Boring, yeah? Okay. So when I said read the text, some of you decided to close your eyes and take a break. You know, many of you might not like reading. Some of you might be reading it actually. Readers like me, I really love reading. Whatever I get, I start reading. I don't know why. I really love it. But it takes time to read and understand. Some of you might be fast readers. Like I'm fast reader. So if the language is simple, not very tedious, if the topic is not boring, if it is interesting, I can read 50, 60 pages in a minute, in 1 hour, right? So maybe you might have read this thing. But if I show you this image, now I ask you all again, please read it and tell me what did you notice. Your answers in the chat, please. Can you read the image? And type in the chat, what did you notice? And I request you to do it fast, because if you people want to interact, as time is limited, please type in the chat quickly so that I don't need to wait too much for it. Can you read the image? What do you see here? I think you all have noticed here quickly, there is a water body, maybe a river, in a city, because I can see the apartments there, right? And there is a lot of plastic waste here, which is contaminating the river. People from the community, kids, adults, everyone, they decided to clean it up. They are coming up with the packages and collecting the garbage, right? Because they thought, we need to clean the river. It's our responsibility. Okay. So yeah, you people have guessed it. So similar thing, I had written here. Actually, what I did is I generated this image using AI tool, and I asked my AI tool to write a text for the image, right? So may not be a perfect text, but you must have realized instead of a text, this image is easy for you to understand and grasp. Easy, it doesn't mean you can't read text and understand. It means less cognitive load. People prefer looking at the visual if they have the option to understand the scenario. Second thing, if the visual, if the image is clearly depicting a scenario, usually it is very convenient for us to read the image. And that is why in the newspapers, in the articles, in the magazines, in all the advertisement, if it is not video ad, they will show you images at least, right? So images are everywhere, right? So, okay, we understood visuals are better instead of text many times. What about this data? Can you read it? Now, see, it is the data of some company, particular company, few hundred observations. I have shown you some glimpse of few rows only, but the data goes on up till 1,000 observation approx. Now, in this data set, you have name of the employees, their gender, department, salary, location, rating. Okay, it's a very small data. I have not given you too many variables to read here. Okay, I've just given you very few variables to study. And if I say, okay, take this table, I'll give you 20 minutes, read it, and I'll ask you some question from the data. Okay, so you can read it. You will figure out, okay, male, female, maybe few people choose not to reveal their gender. So few missing values we can see, right? Different departments, you can note down the name of the department probably. Salary somewhere is missing, rating maybe somewhere missing, right? So we'll read it. But if I say, can you summarize me what is the average salary? What is the average salary of males? What is the average salary of females? How many females are there in each department? There are different departments. How many people got average rating? How many people got very good rating? All those questions, it would not be very convenient for you to just read the table and answer. Of course, there are tools. You can take it to Excel and use some filters. Whatever tool you are using, Excel is just one common thing which everyone knows. That's why I said Excel. There are many tools out there. So you can do so. But instead of this, if I show you this, now you will agree with me that it is quick to read this particular chart. Here I'm talking about rating distribution. So all the employees, their rating I have plotted. This plot I have taken, but it is not the best plot for this. But you can see most of the people, most of the employee got average rating because the count here is highest, right? It is a simple bar chart. Height of the bar represent the count. You can see the count here, right? And least number of employee got very poor rating, right? So at least it's convenient for us to read the chart. Of course, there are ways to improve this chart as well, but let's not go into that for now. Or I can also create other charts from the same data, depends upon what I'm trying to explore, right? Suppose I want to see male, female, how many males and females are there in the data set. So I created this chart, I know almost equal. There are These are the number of males, females, and there are few who have not revealed their gender. I can also read their gender-wise average salary. So male, their average salary is slightly higher than female's average salary, right? So you will agree with me here as well that instead of reading things from the table, at times it is easy to read from the chart. Actually, these all visuals are part of one of my Python project, Python Pandas project, where I was analyzing gender pay gap, right? And based on this particular data set, so I created this chart, and you can see it's very clear from this chart. There are two things in this chart. On the right hand side, I have female representation in different departments. So you can see in engineering department, 43% females are there, marketing 54. So almost all these departments have around 40 to 50% females. So equally distributed, right? But if you see the pay gap, so you see percentage difference in average salaries, males minus females I have plotted for every department, right? So you see in some of the departments here, these departments, if you see, it is negative, less than 0, you can see on x-axis, right? So it means here higher pay for females, because male minus female average salary difference is negative. So it means in engineering, marketing, training, and training, okay, these three departments, females earn less than, more than the males in these three departments. Okay, in rest of the departments here, males earn more than the females on an average. Okay, and again, there are chances or ways to improve this chart, but you can clearly see that human resource department, as per this data, has the highest pay gap. Males earn more than females in that department, as per this data, right? Engineering department, again, the highest pay gap, but here females earn more than males, right? So basically, and how I computed the pay gap, there was, some standard definition we computed it. Let's not go into that. But you can see, instead of reading the data from the table, depending upon my objective, if I create chart, probably I can read it better, or probably I can explain it better, right? So in short, I think you are convinced with visuals are catalyst for storytelling. Means storytelling is powerful. Yes, we agree. Visuals are powerful. Yes, we agree. And visuals are important for storytelling. We agree. Okay. So we are just trying to see, suppose I want to tell a story, what component can I use to make it more effective? Visual. I'm not saying you should not use text, number, or table. You should, if required, right? So we all can use text or tables or numbers as required, depending upon the scenario. But the focus here is on visuals, because this is a very important component of storytelling. And we will come to data storytelling. But before that, because I'm working with data, currently my job is not to create those nice ads which are attractive. My job is not to tell you one business story, right? My job currently is to work with data and create a data storytelling. Okay, so the question is, how do we select a visual? Visual means here, I'm talking about the charts, graphs. Okay, so if I have a data, how do I know which chart should I create with it? Okay, so for that, there are few things you need to know. Now, if you are already working in this area, you might be having some idea about how to select the appropriate visual. If you are new to it, I'll briefly summarize that to select the appropriate visual, there are few things which are important. First thing is important, what's the context? Why you are creating it? Who is your audience? For whom you are creating it? Because they might be having a different level of understanding. If I create a visual for data science learner, it can be different. If I create a visual for homemakers, mothers, it it can be different. If I create a visual for kids, it can be different, right? Same data, same story, but to whom I'm narrating. It's the same way, like I need to tell a story to you. So I will narrate it differently, but if I need to tell the same story to 3-year-old, I'll tell it differently, right? So same apply here, okay? And objective. It's very, very important to know why you are creating it. Because what I have seen, be it data visualization or statistics or machine learning, usually students directly jump into the tool and the method and the algorithm. I'm not sure if you have done ML or not, if you have done statistics or not. But usually student, what they think is, I got the data, I know this tool, whatever it is, or I'm learning this tool and I want to practice. So, okay, I want to try it. I want to try this particular algorithm. I want to try this particular method. And they start doing it. It should be the other way around. First, you should have objective, what you are trying to solve. What is the problem you're trying to solve? You should have a clear objective in your mind. And based on that objective, you decide what data you need, right? And then you decide what particular chart or a statistical method or machine learning algorithm you will need for your objective. I have seen when I was working with those research scholars, so they usually had the quest when they hear about something new and fancy method which is gaining popularity. They used to say, okay, I want to implement this particular method in my next research paper. You guide me how to do it. This is not how you do. You say that I want to work on this problem. This is the area I'm interested in. This is the data I can collect or I have collected. Now you tell me what method is applicable, right? So always context, audience, objective first, and then you choose what is to be applied there. And when you are able to figure out your objective, the clear goal, you should also break it down into small, small parts. Suppose your goal is something based on the data, you will just sit with that goal for a few minutes and think of small sub-objectives, actionable items. And in those sub-objectives, suppose you have 2, suppose you have 5, whatever, you figure out how many variables are there. What are different type of variables? There you need basic fundas of statistics, of data, whatever. Once you are able to identify all this, then you can figure out what is the appropriate visual you will need, right? Now, of course, I'm not going to teach you here selecting appropriate visual, the entire guide. But if you are a beginner and if you need to know some basic charts, see, there are thousands of charts out there. We don't need them all. We need the basic ones, okay? If you are learning data science, data analytics, there are 5-10 different charts, which they teach you in every course. If you are willing to do data storytelling, there are a few more charts, which are commonly used charts. So you can just read about those charts, their applications, and start, right? There are some fancy charts, you might feel attracted to it, but you need only basic ones to start and create most effective data storytelling. You don't need them all. There is always this 80-20 rule. Every subject you have a lot of content, right? So usually 20% of the things will help you learn 80% of the important topics from that, right? So don't need to learn everything you come across, okay? So another thing is, often it is possible for a particular objective. Suppose you did your homework, you are having one clear objective, you noted down how many variables, type of variables, but often there are more than one chart which are possible for that particular objective. Then again, you need to choose the chart judiciously based on your objective, your audience, your context, or maybe your comfort level about the chart, your way of explaining the chart. Which one do you think is better, right? So these are some of the ways. In case there is anyone here in the participant who is having no idea about selecting the chart, I have a talk of mine where I discuss selecting appropriate visuals, the basic ones, which you might need. It's there on my YouTube. I can share that with you. Okay. Some of the charts which are popular one in data storytelling are here. As I said, sometimes just writing a number is enough, right? If I just want to write 90% of the people living in the community believe in this thing, right? So just one text, kind of this. I don't need to create a chart for that. If I just want to tell the story, the previous one example, that in that organization there are 51% males and 49% females. I really don't need a pie chart or bar chart. I can simply write a text for that. Sometimes a table is enough or table is required. Sometimes people prefer to also see the data and read it along with that. So maybe in your dashboard you also include a table. Sometimes you can also, convert your table with some kind of conditional formatting and convert it to a heat map kind of thing. Heat map is also useful when it comes to correlation metrics. Now, because you did not talk about your introduction, so I really don't know how many of you are from which background. Do you know a little bit of a stats, ML or not? If you want, you can tell me, but I'm here assuming you don't have any background, so it's okay. There are many charts. I think even if you're not from background, if I show you this kind of a chart or this kind of a chart, most probably you will be able to read it. I'm assuming it. If you really struggle even to read a basic bar chart, then you should start with graphical literacy. I can suggest you a book by Alberto Cario. And initial 1 or 2 chapter he dedicated to help you people if you are struggling to read chart. The visual elements, how do you read a simple chart, line chart, bar chart, scatter plot, how do you read it? So because the talk is designed to talk about storytelling with numbers, I'll not here teach you selecting appropriate chart. I'll not here teach you how to read a chart. In case you struggle with that, I can share the resources with you. Okay, but I'm assuming I think you have the basic literacy. Some pointers are here. Suppose you want to highlight maximum and minimum, bar chart might be a good example. People also use pie chart, but pie chart is not a good choice for multiple reasons. And one thing is clear, we better read the heights or the length rather than the angle. If I give you 2 bars with different heights, you can quickly see which one is, more height or less height. But if I give you 2 slices of pie, and if I say which one is more angle, difficult to compare for human eyes, right? By design, we can compare those straight lines easily rather than the angle. That's why we prefer bar chart instead of pie chart. Okay, you might be knowing for temporal pattern where you want to see the trend with respect to time, you prefer the line chart. Scatter plot when you want to see how one thing is related with the other thing, etc., etc., right? Now I think we discussed few things. Storytelling is powerful, visuals are powerful, right? Selecting appropriate visual is important. Now we are talking about, okay, we are fine with it and we understand sometimes text, table and numbers are also important. Okay, but how we are going to craft business storytelling with data? So let's talk about that. One thing which worries me is that we really lack the natural ability to tell compelling data story. Many of us lack it. Why so? Because see, in your school days, they taught you languages, English, Hindi, whatever other languages they taught you. So they taught you the vocab, the grammar, the sentence formation, punctuations, and many other concepts, synonyms, antonyms, genders, and whatever other things. So over the years, you become good with that language and you start communicating in that language. And during the course of your school days, they also taught you, how to speak, how to connect the dot, how to frame sentences, how to explain a scenario, how to tell a story. So I think all of you might be having some ability of storytelling. Some of you might be efficient in that. Some of you might not be that efficient, but you can still tell a story. Okay. They also taught you mathematics, numbers, statistics, summaries, okay, charts. They taught you. So I would agree with the fact that some of you might not be liking it, but at least you know basics, and you know the basic charts, basic math, basic summaries there. You have learned it in school. Whether you learned it well or not, that's a different thing. And if you hate math, I love math. And if you hate math, I would say that, sometimes come learn math with me, and I'm sure you will start loving it. But, anyways, they taught you these two things. But nowhere, nobody taught you how to connect these two. You used to think communication is different, mathematics is different. You used to think these two are different worlds. Actually, not. If you are able to pair these two, that's where the power is. Means with the mathematics, with the summaries, with the tables, with the charts, with the statistics, if you are learning how to communicate and weave a powerful story, this is going to be a very wonderful combination, right? So one thing I have seen, because I work as a trainer, I deliver so many trainings in different domains, and I see this is a topic which is less spoken about, and that is why I've chosen the topic. They include the topic of data visualization in some of the courses, but usually they expect us to teach how to create visual using that particular tool, maybe how to read it, that much. They don't expect us to talk about why it is important, how to avoid misleading chart, what about different chart designs, avoiding chart junks, reading chart, choosing appropriate chart effectively, and finally data storytelling. These topics are usually not part of the curriculum. That's why I'm talking about it. Another challenge is that these days we have a lot of tools available. A few years ago, many of you might not be using a lot of tools. Excel was the only common tool, right? So people used to know Excel, little bit of charting using Excel, right? But these days we have a lot of tools available in the market. Many of the tools are available for free, open source. So you explore and you learn it's so easy to create charts. Not only charts, the infographics, the GIFs, all those kind of visual elements. It's so easy to create these days. Sometimes, using no code tool, you don't need coding to create charts. So people are creating so many charts. But then there is something which is bothering some of us, is that when, you are able to create chart, but you don't know how. You don't know when to create chart, which particular chart is useful, how to take care of the chart design principle, how to take care of choosing the colors wisely, how to take care of the need of colorblind people, how to take care of the space available for that particular chart. A lot of factors you ignore and you just create a pretty chart and you put it in your project and you feel happy about it. So that is something you need to focus on, because chart can really lie. Statistics and visualization are really powerful but dangerous as well. You can easily lie with that, right? So in one of my talk on Silicon Valley, a woman he code, I talked about it, how to avoid misleading chart. It is again less spoken about topic, and that is why I choose those topics. So you might want to watch that. I can share that with you. Basically, in short, the tools which you use, they will create chart for you. But if in your data there is some hidden story, some message, the tool doesn't know. Right? You will click somewhere, tool will give you the chart, but you need to reveal that story. You need to dig for it. And you need to create a very effective story. Right? So how do you do that? The question is, you are convinced data storytelling is powerful. And for that, we need to use visuals. And there are many visuals out there, but we are fine using limited visuals, Rather than learning 50 visuals, we would prefer learning 10, but learning them well. Their designs, how to read those, what are the drawbacks and limitation, what should I take care, different use cases where I've seen those visuals are powerful, effective. It's important I spend time on 10 visuals rather than learning 50 and impressing others that I know different funky visuals. But the thing is how we are going to do storytelling with data. One example, I give you a chart, I pause for a few seconds and I want you to read the chart. Can you do it right here? 20 seconds. I'm giving you 20 seconds. I started a timer on my mobile. Can you read the chart and type your findings in the chat? Anyone? Did you try reading the chart? Anyone? Okay, you said highest ticket received 241 years, ticket volume over 1 year, years. What else? If you think typing takes time, you can, maybe I can allow you to unmute and speak. Anyone else? What else did you read? Confused? I think you people know how to read a bar chart, but what I could understand, although I have given you less time, but usually see when we create a chart, this chart has a lot of content, lot of information. It is about ticket trend over the years, January, February up till December, right? And you can see the numbers. And it is a grouped bar chart. So for every month, there are two bars, blue and red. Blue is ticket volume received. Red is ticket volume processed. So it's like, for example, my society app I have in my mobile. And if there is something goes wrong, I raise a ticket. Right? And once they solve the issue, they close the ticket. So how many tickets people have raised in that month? How many were processed in that month? This is that data. Okay. But if I say read it in 20 seconds, 30 seconds, processed means closed the ticket. Like when you raise a ticket and they close it. For example, in my society app, I raised a ticket. Today there was water leaking down there. I saw it. Please check it. The plumber went there, checked, done the job. It's all done. They will close my ticket by writing a comment. It's done now. So closed ticket means processed. It happened. Whatever, customer care executive, you raise ticket and they also track this data because they want to monitor how efficiently they are doing it every month or every year. So this is what it is. But if I say take 30 seconds and read it, you might have struggled. I trust you. I know you people were trying to read the chart, right? And you were trying, you were, writing down your thoughts in the chat, but it takes time. If I just give you 30 seconds, then it's too much of information to process in 20, 30 seconds. Too many numbers, and maybe if I give you more time, you will read it, you will note down all the points which you are reading here. I understand you can do so, but there is a cognitive load here. Cognitive load means how much mental effort we are putting to read the chart. If I show you something which is very complicated, it takes more cognitive effort. Sometimes you see some nice infographics, beautiful charts, and when you want to read it, you are clueless what's there. We can't read it. Right? So those charts are not useful because too much of cognitive load. Instead, if I give you a chart which is simple to read, and which is effective by, clearly giving you a message, probably you will read it better. Yes, you're right, Rupesh. Okay, you are saying ticket received versus processed are reduced during later half of the year. Okay, now I'll show you the same data slightly differently here. Now, can you read this chart? I'll again ask you to read it in 20 seconds. Okay. Second one is the chart from the same data. If you read it, I think it's now better, because one thing I have used not the bar chart but the line chart, because I'm talking about trend with respect to month. Okay, this January, February tilted. We prefer not to write tilted, the axis name, 45-degree tilting. Learning how to do it in a tool is okay, but I need to tilt my neck to read it effectively. Not nicely, but my eyes, it hurts. So I have written the names nicely, short names, okay. It's written 2014, the data sources as well written, right? It's written number of tickets, ticket volume over time. So, these are number of tickets which were raised. Okay. And the message is also written here. The lines, some line is gray, the received line is gray. How many tickets were processed? It is blue. Initially, they are, overlapping up till here, May. Then I can see there is a gap in the line. And why? What's something special about May, which is written here? You can see there is this May line here, and a message is written here: 2 employees quit in May. So there are people working to close the tickets and work on your problems, but 2 employees quit. You can read the text, I'm not doing so. So you can see the gap is increasing. Initially, when the employees quit, there is a small gap. They are trying to, in June, July, they are trying to manage. But after that, they are not able to manage. The ticket received 202 and they are able to close only 156. And the gap is there. So it means we need more people so that the ticket volume is processed, right? Yes, very good, Gopal. So you have read it. And I think here the message is clearly visible because we included this kind of heading, right? We have also included this kind of explanation text. So data storytelling doesn't mean only the chart. You can include text as well, right? And we have highlighted this May month by doing this line. And after converting it to line chart, we decided one of the lines should be gray and other line should be blue. Because see, when the chart, all the things in the chart, if you notice this again, everything is gray except this line. So your focus directly goes to the blue line because everything is gray, right? So you can quickly see processed, okay, it is going down and there is a gap. If I just draw this line dark blue and this line dark red or dark green, the difference would not catch our attention that much. Two bright colors. Instead, one gray, subtle, the other one is highlighted. Getting it? So the thing is, I think some of you might be knowing Excel, R, Python, Power BI, Tableau, some of the two to create charts. Okay. So they teach you creating charts in many workshops, training programs, YouTube videos, books, everything. But this is what you need to focus on. Instead of this, if you create this, it is effective. This particular story, how we came from this to this stage, I explained it in my talk, Data Storytelling. This visual is taken from a book, which is one of my favorite book for data storytelling. I'll give you all the references in the end. Don't worry about that. Okay. Now there is another story based on another data, but because time is limited, so I'm skipping this one because I want to tell you one particular use case step by step. Before that, what are different steps to tell data story? I said this is a chart, not effective. This is a story, effective. But how do I go from this chart to this story? Right? So there are some steps we will follow. Very first thing, very important. Understand the context in the audience. It's very, very important. Figure out. Context means why you are creating a chart, just to explore the data or to explain something to some audience. So here we are talking about explanatory space, not exploratory, explanatory, where we are trying to explain or tell a story to somebody. Second is selecting suitable appropriate visual or table or summary or text, whatever. Right? So here I have taken an example where visuals will be used. Decluttering is important. As you have seen in those charts, the first chart, so many colors. The axis labels were tilted, the grid lines, too much of junk. We don't need. Simple the better. Less is more here. Avoid all the junk. If you have not heard about it, read about junk charts. Read about Tufte's principle. Right? Read about Get-Salt's principle. You will understand it. Next is highlight or focus. Because if I want to show you something, see, when I give you a chart and I say read it, you will start reading it the way you prefer to read it, right? Usually, we humans are, were trained to read from left to right, up to down. So usually I see what is there in top left, then I read this way, this way, this way. So it takes time. But if I want your focus on a particular message, I'll use some visual clues, maybe color, maybe shape, maybe something bold, maybe line thickness, maybe line design, some visual clues so that I can focus your attention to what I'm trying to tell you. This is what we do. For example, when I speak, the voice modulation focus. Because if I speak without any modulation, just reading, that's not effective. If I pause somewhere, if I give a stress to something, sometimes I'm loud, sometimes I'm slow, that makes it effective. Same here. Designing is important. So I'll not talk about chart designs too much, but you will see the changes. Narrative, finally, how we are going to narrate a compelling data story. Right? So this is a skill which you really, really need to develop. Very powerful thing. Okay. So let's understand one use case. And I know I took too much of time. And you people might be waiting for Q&A session. You can post your questions in the Q&A chat. After I discuss this particular use case, I'll quickly summarize everything and I'll take your questions as well. It is okay, I think, if I take few more minutes because I speak a lot. And I think instead of speaking, I should also pause and give you time to think. So it takes a little more time than expected. Okay. So let's see one use case of pricing strategy for a fresh product launch. I want to launch a new product in the market. So before that, I need to study the competitors in the market, their pricing. I need to study a lot of factors so that I can come up with what price should I launch with. Okay. For example, I just collected this kind of a data. I thought I want to launch a product. So what are similar products out there in the market? Probably A, B, C, D, E, 5 products, okay? I collected the data of recent years, past years. So 2008 up till 2014, this is the data. I'm talking about in 2014 or 15, I'm willing to launch my product, okay? I collected this data, right? Based on this data, I want to figure out their pricing strategy, what should be my price, launching price for my product and all, right? Suppose I give you this data with some numbers filled, of course, and I say you do something with it. And probably you know Excel or something else and you created this chart. This is your first chart. Of course, not a good choice. So because time is limited, so I'll not give you 20 seconds and pause for you to read. This is what I prefer to do it in my this kind of talks. So what you can do is, after this talk, you pause on these slides and try to read it as much as you can. Take more time, but see what all you get from the chart. I think some of you might have read something. There are 5 products. 2 are launched in the beginning, 2008. C, D, E are launched later in 10 or maybe 2011 or maybe 13 later years, and their pricing patterns are there. Okay, so this is not giving me any meaningful information. So I'm deciding, first of all, to tell a data story from it. So very first step I talked about, you need to understand what is the context. Why I'm creating the chart or data story? Because I want to explain it, right? So I want to create some charts or some data stories so that I can explain what is the pattern there in the data and what should be the price. Okay, so I'm in explanatory space. Second thing, we also need to think whether it is a live presentation or you are putting it in a PPT or PDF or report and submitting it to your manager. Because if you are presenting it live, you have more control. You can answer the questions live there. You can change your way of teaching there, way of presenting there. If the manager says, no, you create a report and submit it to me, I'll check it, then you have less control. So if you are creating a report for your manager to read later, then you need to explain very well with the text, all the charts. If you are explaining it live, it is okay. You put less text because you can use your words there. Okay. Now, okay, explanatory live, fine. But why I'm creating the chart? First of all, who is my audience? For whom I am creating? And what I want to explain and how I want to explain. So, suppose I am creating the chart for VP of the product, vice president of the company, who is the primary decision maker about product price. He will take the decision, but he has given me some data or he has given me some task to analyze and give my recommendation. Okay, so that person might not be a very technical person, might not be. I'm not saying not always, but might not be. Okay. Second thing, that person who is the vice president might not spend too much time looking at the data and all. He would prefer you give him nice, beautiful, simple, easy to understand chart and make your point, and then he will take decision. Okay. What you want to explain him? You want to explain him few things, how competitors' price have changed over the years. First of all, you want to tell, the strategy, the pattern over the years, how price have changed. And then based on that, you might also want to recommend the price range for your product. Okay. And how you will do? You will show the average retail price of all the products over the time. Right? Finally, you want to show some recommendation. Okay, this is what you want to do. So as I said, the next step is define your goals. So here we have noted down some goals. Goals should be very clearly mentioned so that you when you see the problem and someone says, do help me in this, first of all, don't look at the data. Keep the data in your laptop, shut it down, take paper and pen, sit down peacefully and answer all these questions in your mind. Try what you are trying to solve. What is the question you are trying to solve? What is the quest? Figure out, right? Because it only depends upon the goal, how you are going to do it. So suppose we have written down, the first goal is to understand how prices have changed over time in the competitive landscape. So prices changed over a time means I want to see temporal pattern. So probably line chart is better. Earlier I showed you bar chart. Okay. Second thing, I also want to use this knowledge, the pricing, how they changed over time, to inform about pricing of our product. So we want to see every product, how their prices have changed. So what should be my price at the launch, right? So finally, we want to give some recommendations. Okay, so these are my goals. Now we start with the chart and we'll try to improve it. Okay. Now, time is limited, so I'll not pause to take your feedback on that. I hope that is fine. But if you feel that something is there bothering you, feel free to type in the chat. Okay. So I started with this chart and I realized, no, it's not doing a good job. I figured out I at least need a line chart. Okay. You agree with me that when I create a line chart, I need to have x-axis, y-axis for sure, right? On every chart. On x-axis, I should have time. I think you all agree with me that in line chart, usually we prefer to have times here. So I am willing to have 2008 here, 9 here, 10 here, 11, etc. up till 14. Okay. I have this thing here, the average retail price, whatever on this. Okay. But see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 products. So maybe I will get 5 different lines. One line for product A, the other line for other product, and so on, right? So this is the kind of chart we want to create. Of course, we will use Excel or some other tool to create it, or Python, Tableau, whatever. So, okay, we figured out we need a line chart, multiple lines for multiple products. Here we should have time. Here we should have average retail price. For now, I'll not change anything else, the title, label, whatever. I'm happy with whatever the tools default are, right? So these are the charts which author of the book have created using Excel. I usually create the charts using R or Python. R is my favorite for visualization because it is really powerful. So these are the default charts which Excel is giving you. Okay, fine. But this chart is not yet great. Why? Because see, this is the chart. In this chart, still there is too much of clutter. Clutter. Clutter or junk information means too much of ink is there in the chart, which is not giving me any additional information, right? For example, see this border of the chart, not important. If I remove it, nothing changes, right? No information is lost. So I don't need border. I really don't need these grid lines because these grid lines are not giving me any information, okay? What else? I don't need the title to be bold. It's not something where my attention should go too much. So I can keep it, without bold, the normal font, regular font. Okay. What else? The colors. I really don't need 5 different colors. Because see, in this chart, if you see color blue, then you map here. Okay, blue is product A, red is product B. So if you want to read the chart every time, your eyes are going back and forth from the line to the label. And imagine if there are 10 products. 10 colors would be really difficult, right? So one thing is when you create multi-line chart, the standard rule is you can write the label the charts lines here. Remove the colors, make them all in same color and give them the labels here. This is A, this is B, this is C. So you don't need this information here. These labels also you can nicely arrange so that it is nicely readable because here I think it is 2008 and the marking is here. It is mid of 2009. So we should have the proper marking, right? So let's do all of this. Removing the grid, removing the title, sorry, not removing the box, removing these labels, removing all the colors, making everything gray, decluttering it, simplifying it. See how it is? Beautiful, right? Some of you might be thinking that, I like colors and all, but we should use colors very wisely as and when required. And there is a complete color theory which you need to study or take care. For the moment, if you don't know, maybe for some other talk, but for the moment, at least don't use colors just because you like colors. It is a load on our eyes to read that much. Right? Simple is better, less is better. Okay, so this is okay. Looks better, but still this chart is not telling me something extraordinary. It is just showing me the pattern. But see, if I want to read the chart, first of all, what was my objective? Oops, sorry. Control E. Sorry about that. So what was my objective? Why I was creating the chart? Based on that objective, I need to um, highlight or focus my audience attention on. So see, there are different products. One thing I can see that in 2008, there were only two products. Okay, only two products. Initially, their price was increasing. They were launched at nearly the same price increasing. And here, their price started decreasing. What happened here? You can see in this particular year, 2010, a new product was launched. So when a new product was launched, their price started decreasing. New product was launched at a very low price. Okay. And in 11, again, one more new product was launched. 13, again, one product was launched. Initially, the new products, their price also increased. But after that, they also started decreasing. Finally, all of the products are having the price in this range. So they are kind of converging. Initially too much of gap, but they are kind of converging, right? So a lot of things are there. But if I want to tell this to my audience, I really need to take their focus on where I want their focus to be. Yeah. So I can highlight those things which I want to. So you see here what I have highlighted, I made this blue. And I made these two lines blue after this point. So I think you are able to read that in 2010, new product C is launched and A and B, their prices started decreasing. This is clearly visible. The same chart, but the way I have used the color, you are now quickly able to see what I am telling you. This is important. The same chart, if I highlight something else. So now you see all the products A, B, C, D, E. You see the blue line increasing. It's going up. So you can see all the products whenever they were launched, initially their price increased. After the launch price, their price increased initially. Okay. And the brown part, the gray one, the dark one, you can see decrease. So you can see all the products after certain time, their price started decreasing. For E, it has not yet decreasing because we don't have data after 2014. But you can see for all the products, after a time, their price will have to decrease. Okay, so we are focusing your attention to a particular thing. Okay, now we need to take this data and narrate the story finally. So let's recall our goals. We need to show how prices have changed over time, and we need to inform about the pricing and our recommendation, right? So we can break it down. See, if I am presenting it live, I can also use animations and explain it, pause in between and explain. If you are using a report, maybe you can create multiple charts with some text written so that the manager can understand. So this is the chart I am creating first. In this chart, there are only 2 points A and B, and clear message is written. I am not expecting my manager to guess my message. I'm writing. See, initially product A and B were launched in 2008. Price points around $360 plus, almost same. Okay, so I'm giving clear message to my manager so that he can understand the strategy. Okay, then I'm giving another chart and highlighting both A and B, their trend in blue color. There is no other line. And my message, I'm again not asking him to guess. I'm writing my message here. They have been priced similarly over time, with B consistently slightly lower than A, right? So similar price, B slightly lower than A, whatever is that product B. And after that, the next chart I'm showing here is this. I'm convincing my manager, I'm showing my manager that over the years, A and B, their price is around 250, 260. So they started with 360 plus, but now they are around 250 or 260. Right? So because we want to launch a new product, we should be launching something less than that. We should not be launching at 360. We cannot afford to launch at that price. Okay. Now we are also showing the new products because now we also want to tell the pattern what happens with the new products in the market. So I'm showing that 3 new products were launched later, but they were launched at much lower prices, much lower. You can see here in the chart. So I highlighted that. So I'm putting my point that when you want to launch a product, you should be having the low price initially. Okay. Then I'm showing that they were launched at much lower prices. They increased their prices after their respective launch, but followed by a decrease over time, as I said earlier. So basically, with all these charts, I'm telling these stories, and I'm saying that as of 2014, all the retail prices of these products converge to around this point. Average is 223. So I have computed average from the data, right? And I have written it in the text. I'm not expecting my manager to guess the average here. I have written here, average is 223. Minimum 180, maximum 260. So I'm not expecting him to read it here and guess it here. I'm just facilitating. I don't want him to put too much effort reading the data. Okay. And finally, I'm saying that based on all of this, this is the average 223. So we should be launching something less than that. Because we are a new product. By the time we gain customers' confidence and trust, we should be launching at lower price. So something less than that. And here we are recommending maybe in this range we should launch, right? So same data, but we told a story using 5, 6 different visuals, a lot of text, using decluttering, highlighting everything. And I think you will agree with me, this is the way to convince your manager or to recommend something to your manager rather than showing the first chart. The first chart any newcomer will create, any school college student will create, right? So you will learn with time, depending upon different data sets, different stories, how you can make it effective, right? But this is something very interesting which you should develop. So rather than this kind of a chart, this story is impactful. You will find tons of different examples, but rather than again going from multiple examples, I would recommend just take one example at a time. Pause, give it your time, 1 hour, 2 hour, whatever you need. Read about it, try to understand. Is it improving or not? Right? And then you will create your summary points. So let me complete the puzzle. What we discussed so far, the summary here is data storytelling is powerful. Okay. Visuals are powerful. And we need visuals in data storytelling. Okay. Selecting right visuals is very important. Okay. And apart from that, decluttering the chart, using the colors wisely, and focusing audience attention to the message we are trying to convey, narrating the story, weaving everything together. It should not be, one chart totally different, another chart totally different, and there is no connection. There should be a complete connection, the hierarchy. You see, some movies are like you are really doing your guesswork, you really can't understand what's happening, and you don't like those movies. But if the movies are well connected, you start enjoying those movies. Okay, same here is in data storytelling. So basically, we discussed all of this: context, visual, declutter, focus, and finally storytelling. And in that story, there is a setup, there is a climax, and final solution and all. So I think now you know how to do data storytelling. And some of the handy tips, I always talk about it in all of my trainings, whatever it is. Whenever there is a lecture schedule for data visualization, I always ask them, don't get attracted to too many tools out there. Don't focus too much on the tools. They are there to help you. Focus on limited, maybe one tool at a time, but grasp the fundamental. See, if you know 10 tools, but your fundamentals are weak, you are not going to survive too much. Right? If you know only 1 or 2 tools, your fundamentals are strong, and in interviews you are saying, I don't know this particular tool, which you need. I'll learn. But your fundas are clear, it's better. Right? You should learn how to define clear goal. It's very important, even in a statistical analysis. So in my stats training also, I talk about it. It's important. You understand your objective and break it down into smaller achievable objectives. Then knowing the audience, choosing visuals, all of these things are important. Connecting with the audience when you are presenting is very important. right? So if you are presenting your data story to your manager versus if you are presenting it to audience in your society, you are giving a talk, or if you are presenting it to students, you are doing a storytelling with some students, your way of presentation should be different, right? So depending upon the context, audience, you need to choose different things, right? Many times, maybe in my upcoming talk, I am planning to deliver another talk on business storytelling in marketing, where I'll discuss more about the, compelling techniques like using contrast or something else to make it really powerful, really effective, right? I gave you some examples, although, how you can make it more effective by connecting with your audience, like the NGO example where you want to raise funds. And presentation skill, communication skills, of course, those are important. Okay. And I mentioned some of my talks which might be useful to you. Those talks are available on my YouTube as well. This talk is about a storytelling with data, a lot of technical things. And this is this talk is based on my favorite book. All these topics are explained very well in detail using 2, 3 different data sets. So I think you will learn a lot using this talk. And in this talk, you will also see the references and a lot of material and all. This is the lecture on my YouTube about selecting appropriate visuals, the basic ones, right? Maybe I can create more videos on the topic, but the basic ones which you need to know are here. This is the talk I was referring to about avoiding misleading chart, right? It's really, really, really important to avoid lies with statistics or with chart. Sometimes you do it unknowingly. Your chart design or some chart element is such that it becomes misleading. Sometimes even if your chart design is okay, you are having a technically correct chart, still it can be misleading. So all those things which are less spoken about, I have talked here, right? So you might want to see that. And few more talks of mine which might be useful to you in case you are a newcomer here in this particular domain, which you might want to check. There are many other things on my YouTube you can check. This is my LinkedIn. You can go to my post section or article section. There are some posts on data science. There is a series of posts I created long back about data viz and storytelling, the topic which I'm talking about, right? So you can scan the code and go to that profile and check my previous post there. Stay connected. So thank you everyone for bearing with me. And it's time for questions from your side. Because this is also very important skill to ask questions. Currently, it is okay whether you ask a very important question, right question, or whether you ask something which you feel is a silly question. Because see, no question is a silly question. Whenever you ask, you learn more. So feel free to ask, although the time is over, but we can extend it for next 5-10 minutes if you have questions. Thank you, Gopalakrishna. Anyone, any question, feel free to ask, or if you want to interact anything, maybe you can request the host to allow you to unmute in case you want to say something. Did you find the topic interesting and unique? Did you think this is something which was new to you? Yes, the story which we have used are from real world data as well. And there are many stories which have changed. Earlier, if you watch my talk on that data storytelling on my YouTube, you will see how using data storytelling can be beneficial for the world. It was about some accidents or something, but if there is something hidden in the data and if you can explore that and explain that using your storytelling, it's really powerful. And I'm not saying you just do it for some classroom projects and all. It's for real world only. Kind of, but case study method And storytelling method are similar but kind of different also, because in storytelling you are trying to narrate a story, and when I say storytelling using data, you are trying to narrate a story which is supported by the facts and the data. For example, uh, I'm seeing, and you might be hearing the problems, water crisis in Bangalore. Here in Pune also, we are having some of those things. So in case that troubles you, and you people are interested, collect the data. Collect the data about water needs, water availability, contamination, sources, everything. All the data is available on internet. And if you are interested, you need to spend some time, maybe a few months, churning the data. Create some compelling chart, and you are just saying that this is happening and no one is listening to you, the government officials, no one is listening to you. But if you create some compelling story and you are really able to support that story with the fact that over last 5 years, over last 10 years, what happened to our water bodies, like Bangalore, it was a lake city, what happened to it, why it is dried up. So if you are able to prove it with the facts, with the data, and then you can publish it, it can create an impact, right? So the similar stories were created by famous storytellers, and they got published, they caught attention of the media houses, and those were uh, became the reasons to change the policies, right? So it is really powerful, just that you should have the willingness and availability of time to spend few months on a particular problem. It's not, you will take a data and create a chart in next half an hour, 2 hour, or next 1 week, and you will present and you are done. If you really want to make it impactful, you might want to work on one particular problem for long duration, and you can do that. And yes, real-time updating data can also be used in storytelling. For example, this COVID cases, it was updating real time, stock prices updated real time. So there are many things, population data, the number of births, deaths, migration, the data changes real time. So in your dashboards, you can include the charts which are moving with real-time data. And also in such cases, you might want to show the tables which support the document tables in the dashboard itself, right? The Power BI, the Tableau dashboard, if you must have seen that. So those kind of tables can be used many times, like you are doing a study on COVID cases and you are showing some of the charts and the tables simultaneously on the dashboard, and you are presenting it to somebody about India. But the audience asks, okay, can you compare it with what is happening in US, what is happening in Australia? So the data is there, live updation in the dashboard. So in your table, you can put a filter and you can compare those two as well. And the chart will change accordingly. So that is all doable. Not only in Power BI Tableau, in R, Python and other tools as well. It is doable. Okay. So yeah, anything else? Okay. So I think that's all. If you don't have any other question, I would just like to thank you to be with me, and you people can connect with me if you want on LinkedIn. That's all. I think we can end the meeting here. Thank you, everyone. Good night. Ritu, you missed the session, I think, in the beginning. Okay, you joined late. Okay, recording will be available to you on Edvancer portal. So maybe you contact Edvancer and they will be sharing the recording with you. And it will be available on my YouTube as well. So stay tuned, you will see that. Okay, fine. Thank you.